In the last 40 years, half the world's rainforests have been destroyed to create farmland and cattle ranches and to extract timber and minerals. It is the vast fires in the Amazon that have alerted the world to the unprecedented scale of forest destruction. Turning fragile tropical forest soils into cattle ranches is a bad idea. Within a few years, the land becomes infertile and turns to dust. In the Amazon alone, an area the size of France has turned into wasteland, supporting a tiny number of cows. But there are still vast areas of forest, and it is crucial to find ways in which to use them without further destruction. We need look no further than the forest people themselves to learn to use the forests sustainably. They have lived here for thousands of years without destroying the forest. They have a name for every plant that grows here and a use for most. Today there are trading projects which rely on the traditional rainforest products harvested by the Indians, like Brazil nuts. The Kayapo village of Aucre trades Brazil nut oil with companies in Europe. This is perhaps the world's most unusual production line. The whole village partakes in the project, men, women and children. Tribal warriors seem content to play their role in helping the whole village to prosper. The Brazil nuts are shelled, boiled and pressed into oil, which is to be used in cosmetic preparations. Every year, several tons of oil are exported, providing a good income for the village, and at the same time keeping the forest alive. Projects like these are a viable alternative to deforestation, and not only for Indian tribes. There are many products other than Brazil nut oil that tropical forests can yield. Rubber is a product of the rainforest. Our civilization cannot do without it. The Amazon forest is dotted with rubber trees from which hundreds of thousands of people make their living. The rubber is moulded in the villages and then processed in factories in the cities of the Amazon, like Manaus. Kombu Island in the Amazon River is considered by many ecologists as a model for how tropical forest regions could be developed in the future. Farming methods here have been studied by botany professor Anthony Anderson.
Well, Kombu Island is a 15-kilometer square island located 2.5 kilometers from the city of Belém. And this is a rather unusual island, or at least surprising, in that despite the fact that it's so close to the major port city of the Amazon, over 95% of the forest cover on Kombu has been conserved. Here on Kombu, inhabitants have lived continuously for the past several centuries and have learned how to live with forest resources and to conserve the forest. Como é que o senhor faz, então, com isso aqui?
Esse aqui está muito junto, né? Então eu corto as menores, vou cortando as menores assim, ó. Essas aqui, corto essas aqui, ó. Vai ficando só mais espaçoso.
Aí dá mais espaço para eles crescerem.
Elas precisam. Tudo é cortado. Vai ficando só as maiores. Ó.
E isso leva quanto tempo para começar a produzir?
Isso por uns 3 anos ela está produzindo.
Paulo Fernandes has an 80-acre plot on which he grows cacao fruit and a variety of nuts. All over the island, the acai palm grows in abundance. The fruit is harvested all year round and is widely used in soups and juices throughout the Amazon. The Kombu Islanders never burn the forest, nor do they use machinery to produce their crops. They've learned their system of cultivation from the Indians, skillfully managing the crops the forest itself provides. The city of Belém is only half an hour by boat from Kombu. Twice a week, Paulo Fernandes and his son take the produce from their family farm to market. The great advantage of the Kombu Islanders over settlers elsewhere is that they have the security of owning their own land. And from his relatively small tree farm, Paulo Fernandes earns some $3,000, mostly from the acai. By Brazilian standards, it's a good living. Urame is a settler's village in the northeast of Amazonia. 15 years ago, this was a devastated landscape. The ground had been cleared and burned for cattle ranching. Today, on their 5,000 acres, the village supports 120 families. The neighbouring cattle ranch supports only 6. The settlers have been successful because they've replanted tree crops for which the Amazon soils are ideally suited. On a nearby farm, Japanese settlers who came to the Amazon over 40 years ago have pioneered sustainable farming methods. They revive depleted soils by planting deep-rooted nut trees, like the trees of the original tropical forest. Senor Sakaguchi inherited this land from his father.
Aqui no passado, essa área aqui, ela foi completamente devastada e nós tivemos alguns problemas de manuseio de solo. Então foi pensado na substituição. Nós substituímos com a cultura da andiroba e hoje, como vocês podem ver, o solo está praticamente todo recuperado e a floresta praticamente refeita.
Tribal people, rubber tappers and settlers who live off the forest without destroying it need our support. Together we can stop the devastation and keep the forest alive.